Hi everyone, it's Nikki O'Donnell again. I am the outpatient therapist here in Commerce, Michigan, and I'm so excited to be able to talk to you guys a little more about stress, how we manage that, what maybe that looks like in your life, and practical things that you can do, to right away, today, manage stress better. So the last time you guys saw me, I did a little bit of talking about stress in the body and how it affects the body, right? So we understand that. We can also kind of understand in general that some stress is good, right? Like when we're excited or before a test or a big game, it kind of gets us that competitive edge. But then there gets a point where stress can be not so great. Or, in some ways it can even make us sick. So we're going to talk about some strategies for managing that. And even a little bit of how to identify maybe if that's something that's happening for you. So a lot of people who are experiencing stress, right? Like think about all the things that you have to do in a day. And then think about all the other things, right, that go through your mind during a day. There's a lot. It's a lot to manage. And sometimes what ends up happening, if you imagine a cup, right? So normally what happens, right, in a good situation when we're, feeling good, we're healthy, we're in good spirits, all that stuff, is that, our cup, right, generally, let's say that it's the fuller the cup is, the more stress we have, right? And sometimes we get so much, it can kind of spill over. So in general, our cup stays pretty low, if we're doing well, because we're managing things as we go along, we're, tackling our to-do list or whatever. It's when things start to build up in that stress level, right? That cup fills all the way to the top. It almost is, any little thing could just make it, overflow. And what that looks like a lot of times is us kind of having just like a period of time where we're overwhelmed, we're extra emotional, little things are setting us off, things like that. So that's how we kind of know if we're experiencing that kind of stress and our stress level is just, right, teetering right there at the top. So when we know that that's happening, one thing that I like to do is tap into the senses of our body. So what I wish I could do is be like, yo, body, like stop stressing out. We need to handle stuff. But it doesn't communicate that way, right? We need to communicate through our brain because that is what communicates to our body. Stress affects the body, that whole thing. So instead, we're going to use our senses because that's how our body communicates with the world, right? Makes sense. So one thing that I want you guys to think about is just how you experience the world with your body, right? A lot of times we kind of live up here, like lots of thoughts in our head and all that stuff. But rarely are we paying attention to like what our shoes feel like or what our feet feel like in our shoes, right? Just do that kind of right now and wiggle your toes in your shoes and bring that awareness there, right? We probably haven't thought about that all day. Now I want you guys to do an experiment with me, all right? Or you can just think about it, or you can do it later, however you want to do it. But usually what I'll have clients do is I'll have them put one hand on their chest and one hand on their belly, okay? And then I will say, okay, I want you to take just 3 deep breaths, just as you normally would. So then and when I have them do this, I tell them, pay attention to what you notice. Do you notice that your hand up here on your chest is rising and falling? Or is it the one down here on your belly that's rising and falling? So a lot of times when we're under a lot of stress, we notice that we're having shallow breathing. So if you're a person who noticed it up here, it means that yes, your body's definitely under stress and you're breathing pretty shallow. We do that under stress. It's just a body response. Some people who are prone to things like panic attacks, right? If they're really shallow breathing for a period of time and that cup's really full and then it spills over, the body resets, and what the resetting is a panic attack sometimes. So then they experience this spike of anxiety, hyperventilating, and then a decline, and then, right, we're exhausted because the body just had nothing else to do with all of the stress, so it just resets. But we want to prevent that from even getting there, right? So if you notice that you're doing a lot of shallow breathing, one thing and this seems simple, but this is like legitimate, right? We're communicating to our body through our brain and through our senses. And so the way that we take in oxygen, right? Blood that's oxygenated, right? And getting all that good stuff to all the different parts of our body is better at managing stress. When we start breathing shallow, unconsciously, we're putting our body under more stress. So it's like a downward spiral, experiencing stress, and oh my gosh, now we're, our body's really feeling it. So one thing you can do is put both your hands on your belly. This is actually even better to do if you're lying down on your back, because then you can really isolate and feel your belly when we do the exercise. But when you take a deep breath, this is gonna feel a little bit different, but take the breath in through your nose, and then you're gonna breathe out through your mouth. But when you take it in through your nose, I want you to imagine that you're blowing your belly like a balloon, right? It's kind of the opposite if we're doing like ab workouts and we're trying to, like tighten all those muscles. I want you to do the opposite. So instead, you're gonna take a breath in, kind of relax those shoulders, right? And imagine your belly is filling with air, right? So this is called diaphragmatic breathing. So if you're in band, play an instrument, you're a singer, anything like that, you might know what I'm talking about. We wanna breathe way down here from our diaphragm. It's gonna feel different. So usually I'll have clients kind of chill for a second and just do a round of maybe 3 or 4, right? So they'll go in through their mouth, that belly, right? Really making sure to get that air down there until they don't think they can take it anymore in the air, and then when you breathe out, imagining your entire body just kind of melting into the seat, right? If you do a round of that 3 or 4 times, what starts to happen for some people is they feel a little bit dizzy. If that's happening to you, it's very likely that this is the first deep breath and, really cleansing breath that your body's gotten in a hot minute. So if you're feeling dizzy, that's why your body's, readjusting to getting kind of this breath of air, right? In, and then all of that carbon dioxide out. It's a good way to start if we notice that we're getting stressed, because we can do that and nobody is gonna see us do it, right? You would have no idea if that's what I'm sitting here doing if I'm in class, right? It's a way to quickly bring that in. The other thing that we did beforehand, remember when I was telling you to feel your toes in your shoes? So another thing we use when it comes to our body and managing that stress is just being mindful of things. So one thing that I'll have kids do if they're feeling really overwhelmed is to do some mindfulness practices. So that feeling your toes in your shoes, right? It refocuses the brain on something physical. And then we kind of, again, that buildup that's happening in here, it can kind of sort of help distribute a little of that stress. And when our attention is away from it, right, like anything else, if we have, an injured muscle, right, if all we're doing is thinking about how much it hurts, it just hurts even worse, right? We're really studying how, and every time we move, right? So that focus amplifies the experience. So we want to use that to our advantage. Right? So we can be mindful in any way. Another really quick exercise that we can use in mindfulness that helps with stress reduction is picking, I like to do this one just because I think it's easy and fun, but picking things in the room that are the colors of the rainbow, right? So I'll start with, okay, let me find something red. Let me find something orange. Let me find something yellow, right? And I'll go through as I find each one. Or something that starts with the letter of the alphabet, right? Going through and naming something, or like looking in the environment for things that start with that letter. All we're doing is we're giving the brain a different kind of a task. We're using a different part of the brain, right? So when we're really stressed, our brain isn't functioning at its full capacity. And a lot of times we get really into our emotional side of our brain. So if we can switch back over to the problem solving side, right? Again, it gives us a better chance of managing what's all happening in here in that stress. So what's kind of neat is if we give the brain that kind of task, we'll notice that our stress level kind of maybe just comes down just a little bit, but it does affect our stress level. It does. That attention and awareness, that mindfulness really can help. Another thing that I like people to pay attention to are some of the basics, right? There are things in our day that just really help us manage stress. Things like making sure that we're eating regularly, right? Getting some protein in there somewhere. Our metabolism is what runs all of those chemicals of our brain. Serotonin is the one that helps us chill out when we need to. Dopamine's the one that helps us, get up and go and feel really good. So we want to get that serotonin up as much as we can when we're stressed, so that it takes that stress level down. The breathing will do that. Mindfulness can do that. Another thing that can do that is, like we're talking about now, making sure that we're not compromising ourselves by eating regularly, like making sure we get something in. The other thing is drinking water. So this one seems so simple, but if people are having a lot of panic or anxiety in a day, I'll tell them we need to get down a bottle of water right now. Our metabolism doesn't work without water. So like that's what makes the whole system run. And if we need that serotonin running through our body, if we don't have it, we can't, right? So even mild symptoms of dehydration can really, really cause a problem for people, and they can experience increased anxiety and even depression symptoms when we're not tending to that. So, listening to your body in that way, tending to a few simple things, maybe trying a new trick or two, and then seeing how that affects your stress level. Everyone has a different rhythm, and you might find a mindfulness practice, maybe it's knitting or crochet, something that you do during your day just to sort of bring things down. For some people, it's listening to music. So good luck, everyone. I hope you use some of these tips or experiment a little bit, and hopefully it helps bring down that stress. Have a great day, everybody.